Okay, hey folks, Mark Locklear here with a quick screencast on chapter 15 and file input and output. So as a software developer, in file input and output will be sort of near and dear to your heart. I've done my share of it, and it's just sort of one of those things that you often need to do. I will say, just as a sort of to put an asterisk on this conversation, more and more, it's not so much about getting a text file and processing it as it is working with JSON. That's JSON, pronounced JSON or JSON. Sometimes people say it that way. I say JSON because that's web accessible. So lots of times when you find data that's publicly available on the web, especially via APIs, JSON data, you'll ingest that data. That's the term that's often used. You ingest that data, and then you may write it to a database. You may clean it, which is the example we're going to look at today. But these concepts will apply like everything I try and teach in my classes. This will apply whether you're just getting a text file and doing some processing to it, or whether you're going out on the web and finding a via an API, getting a JSON file and processing it. It's just, in the case, the example we'll be working on for your exercises will just be a local text file, but really you could use those same methods. We'll be looking at the print, we'll be looking at the print writer and the buffered reader class. Those classes will apply whether you're using a text file or whether you're going to get the JSON file via an API out on the web somewhere. I mean, essentially, the example we're going to look at, we're going to take our text file, we're going to write that file to an array. We'll do the manipulation there, and then, by looping through each element in the array, and then again, we'll loop through it after we've cleaned the file or cleaned the data. Then we'll write it back out to a we'll write it back out to a text file. So with that being said, let's share our screen. So I think what I'm going to do for the exercise is this is going to be project 15.3. This is the file cleaner. So I'm giving you this prospects .csv file. In this case, it's a CSV file, and we're going to take and do some manipulation there. So I'll get you started just with reading the file, just to sort of give you a sense of what my thought process is. You don't necessarily have to do it this way, but I'll sort of follow the lead that the book gives us to do it. So there's that. Let me pause this for just a second, and let me make sure I have access to our text file. Okay, I just need to download our. So I'm giving you a link to the CSV file. It's in Google Drive, and then where you're going to want to place that is, let's put it inside. Let's see if I can drag this here. Files, here we go. So you'll click in NetBeans over here on this files folder, and if you'll drop it right here under this manifest file, which it doesn't seem to want to play nice. All right, let me pause and figure out what's going on here. Okay, so I had to actually open up File Explorer or the Finder on Mac, and I actually just dropped the file inside the, in this case, whatever the title of your application is. Mine's Java 18, Java Application 18, and I just put it right here. You can see here's the prospects.csv, and you can see the text there. So let's just review real quick, and this is pretty typical, the kind of stuff you'll want to do. I mean, you can easily imagine a scenario where you've got a display. Let's say you're making some kind of reporting app, and you're having a dashboard kind of app, which are very popular these days. Let's say it's sort of an internal application, maybe for managers and those folks to go look at data. They want the data formatted a certain way, so you may be pulling this data in from some remote location, and then running some cleaning or doing some transformation of the data so it just looks nice when they're looking at it on the screen. So you can read the requirements inside the projects document, but you'll be upcasing or capitalizing the first and last names. All the emails should be lowercase. Remove any extra spacing. And then there's also some quote unquote malformed data. And for instance, let's see, line 42 is one of the ones that I mentioned. So that one's here. And there's no email address for this person, right? So you get rid of those, or well, actually no. So if the line doesn't contain an email, insert the text "no email provided." So yeah, you'll want to make sure you sort of handle all those cases too. Okay. Alrighty. So back in our application, where do we want to start here? So first thing I'm going to do, of course, I've already sort of coded up generally what I want it to look like. So I'll start off with a handful of just some sort of print statements and create some variables. So it's generally good practice to put your input and output file names. Go ahead and assign those to variables rather than hard coding them. That way you can pass those variables around. In this case, we're going to create a method that's going to actually clean our file, and it's just easier to pass that variable name along rather than to worry about trying to hard code things and maybe fat fingering the name of the file. So notice I've got my input and output files here, and then I'm just going to print out some information. You know, source file is, clean file is, and then I'm actually call this clean file method. So we're going to call let's do public static void file, and then this is going to take our input and output. So it's going to be string. Just going to copy this. String input file name, and then string output file name. And then we'll take in something like that, okay? So again, we could put all this in line, but this is just, again, just a neater way to do it. And from a professional standpoint, if you go out there in the real world and code, you're not going to be doing these glorified scripts where you're just cramming everything into the main method. You're going to want to create methods for it, and probably, honestly, in the real world, you would probably have a separate class for this. So certainly feel free to create a separate class and call the methods that way. Okay. So I've got my method. I'm going to pass my file, my local file in this case, and you can see it over here is prospects.csv, and then also the clean file name, which is going to be prospects_clean. So I'm going to create an array list, and that's what I'm going to actually write to. Let's clean this up a little bit. All right. So I'm going to create an array list called lines, and all I'm going to do here is loop through. I'll take a for loop, or I'll do a while loop, and I'll loop through each line in our prospects.csv file, and then we'll go through, and then we'll take that same array and then loop through it again and do our cleaning. So I'm going to paste in this chunk of code just so we're not, you don't have to watch me barrel through things. All right, so here, move this up a bit. So here we're going to read our input file. This is the local, again, this local input file here, which is the prospects.csv. We're going to use a buffered reader object. We're going to create a new buffered reader object called in. And so you can see here, I've got my red squiggly lines I need to import. So again, on Mac, I'm doing Control Return. I'm not sure what the hotkey is on Windows, but if you just put your cursor on top of it, do that Control Return, it'll give you the option to import the class. So I'll import that class. I'm creating an array list here, I need to import that class. So I'll import that. I'm creating a file reader class here also. So I need to import that one. And then I'm doing an IO exception here also. And you can see at the top, I mean, I could have went in and manually added those, but it's just nice to use the shortcuts and it'll automatically format it for you. Now, I've overcomplicated this, right? I've got this all this try, catch, and why am I doing all this? So this is just standard protocol. Anytime you're dealing with, and this goes for, you know, goes for internal files, just like this, where we've got a prospect CSV file locally, or if you're going out on the web and hitting some API or website to pull some data in. Try catches are of utmost importance because you just never know, right? I mean, you know, the web is generally, it's pretty reliable, but it's not 100% by any means. So, and even the same thing locally. Like if you're just writing some script for yourself, it would probably be fine not to do try catch blocks if you're manually putting the file there. But on any system of any sophistication, you're probably going to have some other automated process that's running that is pulling data in and creating these text files for you. So it's just standard practice to always do a try catch when you're accessing any kind of data like this, whether it's file or whether it's via an API, and then just handle, you know, appropriately have this catch clause so you're handling the scenario where either the file's not there or maybe the data is not reliable. So that's just sort of standard practice. So that's all I'll say about that. So again, we're doing this try catch. We're going to try and create this object, this buffer to reader object called in, and then it's going to read in input file name, which of course is prospects.csv. Again, this file is local here. And then we're going to use a while loop here, and we'll say while the line is not null. So while I'm getting a new line each time and the line's not null, I'm going to do lines.add. So remember, lines is our array. We're going to add that line to our lines array. And then I've just got a system out. I've got a print line statement here just to sanity check that indeed we're writing that line to the array each time. Okay, and so if I run this, I'm just outputting. Notice I'm just outputting. This is all the that's all the text that is in our CSV file. Okay. Okay, so we've got the data. That's the first step. We've got the data inside an array. So now we're ready to process it or do something with it. And now I think I'm going to stop there. But at this point, just to sort of give you the next instructions, you're going to write. I'm going to say write out the file, and so you're going to create a print writer object. Again, you want to do try catches with those things. To create a print line or a print writer object, and then we're going to loop through array and clean each. Okay. I don't want to give too much away here. I mean, one way to approach this is to take each line, split it, use the split method to split on a comma. You can do, there's a string util class that includes a toTitle case method. You can pass the first name and last name in there. And again, I'm gonna leave it up to you to think about and figure out how to handle all those sort of malformed lines. So if the email address is missing, you're gonna want to insert, you know, no email address, and then there may be some other gotchas in there where some data is not there. So I'll let you deal with how you want to handle that. So, alrighty, that is all for now. Good luck, and as always, let me know if you have questions.